Oh, I am live. This is so cool. I'm live simultaneously from YouTube and from Facebook. So if you are catching me live, say hello. I'd love to see how I'm using StreamYard right now, and I want to just see how this all works and how I can interact with you guys. It's pouring rain over here in San Diego, and I wanted to come on and talk about home and my experience with what home means to me, how to find home in yourself, home from a parenting standpoint, and more. So this kind of came about actually a month or two ago. Hey, oh man, it says Facebook user. How come it's not showing who you are? Darn StreamYard. But hi, I won't be able to know who exactly is commenting because it just says Facebook user or YouTube. So I'm not quite sure who's on. But hello, and I'm excited you're here. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So the concept of home, and I know that we learn from a very young age what home is like for us, whether we have it or we don't. We're always searching for it. And we begin life in our mother's uterus, and that is our home, right? And that's how we begin. And then we come into this world, and we come into this big, scary world where everything is different and things are always changing, and we're still seeking for that feeling of home. So it's maybe your physical home. I feel that's what a lot of us think home is this feeling we get when we're inside our home. And especially during the holidays, it's something we all want to feel. We want to feel homey. We want to feel cozy. We want to feel in that energy of home. And for a lot of people that go through and have this childhood that doesn't provide for them home where they can feel safe, because first of all, in order for you to expand and feel good with being in this world, you have to first have safety. And safety comes from a roof over your head, food in your belly, and a safe place to call your home. And that means the people in it. So everybody within your home helps contribute to this feeling of home for you. And some of us go through trauma as a child where it's not safe to be ourselves in our home. And so I have a big problem with that. And I've started to understand as a parent how important it is for us to create a safe space for our children. Me and my husband have different views on this. He believes that he wants to prepare them for the real world, right? And I believe that the real world is there. Whether we like it or not, they're going to interact with that real world. And so I want to be that safe place for them. I want to be that home for them. And I feel that it's important because our kids are learning how to find home inside themselves, because that's the biggest thing, right? Is we're here to figure out that home is actually where the heart is. Home is actually where you are, and you are unchanging. That home inside of you is not going to change. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I struggled with the feeling of home. I did not feel home here anywhere I was going, because I was seeking a physical location or a person that felt familiar to me, that felt like home to me. And during this pregnancy, I realized that the only home is within myself, because I remember vividly sitting at the dinner table and feeling very different, and knowing what sitting at the dinner table having dinner with my family felt like, and that felt like home to me, right? Sitting at the dinner table having conversations, and I was sitting at the dinner table really pregnant with my daughter, and I just felt different. I could not grasp that feeling of home. I'm like, I feel so different here. And so I struggled with a lot of depression during my pregnancy because I couldn't figure out my safe place, my home place. I was going through a lot of emotions internally. I was going through a lot of stuff with my husband. I was going through a lot of grief with being pregnant. There was so much happening to me. And so because I was trying to create something external to be my home, and I felt different, that feeling of home was never there because the feeling was different. And so I couldn't hold on to home. Now, these kids that begin life in our womb, we're their home, right? And then they come out into this world, and in order for them to come into their security, they need to feel that sense of home, or else they're going to shut their heart and protect that. So if you guys are looking at your gene keys and you're looking at the SQ, that first, it's just right smack dab in the middle of our chart, and it's one of the most important spheres. So after you are born, you have your core, you have your vocation, you're born, and you are living out your SQ. Now, that line number in your SQ is very important for you to know and understand. So is the vocation core wound, right? But I feel like the SQ is like that key to unlocking that wounding inside of ourselves, because we were wounded so much. And it's a collective wound. It's something that we've taken on to transmute for the collective, right? It's this core wound, and it can be ancestral, fractal, collective, whatever it is. This is your core wound. So say that you have a 6-line core wound, and that core wound is separation, right? And what could be more traumatic than separating from source? Like, oh, I'm with source, oh, I'm with mother, and now I'm not. And even some kids that are born and that are separated from their mother because there's something wrong and they have to go to the NICU and they don't get that bonding time with mother, they are separated. And so that wound of separation is exacerbated even more. Now we have that SQ, right? The SQ has its own line, and say that line is a line 1. Line 1 for the SQ is all about certainty. Certainty, security, fear. It's about you feeling that security. It's very root chakra-y, right? Do I feel secure or not? Do I feel safe or not? Do I feel certain or not? If I do not feel that, I will not open my heart. I will not unlock that. I will keep it shut, right? If you are aligned to there, that one is, oh, Ashley. Let me bring up my handy-dandy book. So for the SQ, I wasn't really planning on talking about the SQ right there, but I did. And so I want to make sure that I have the right verbiage, because I think that's important. So we're talking about feeling at home. And if you are still learning about how to navigate feeling at home in yourself, but you're wounded from the start and you are closing off your heart, it's going to be really hard for you to feel that sense of home in yourself if you are guarding your heart. Even you can't experience your heart because it's guarded, right? And so let's pull out that SQ so that I can get these terms right. Here we go. So if you have a second line in your SQ, we have freedom. Freedom, wildness, boundaries, right? If you're that second line, that's what you're craving. If you feel constricted, if you feel feeling bound in, if you're feeling oppressed, if you're not feeling that sense of freedom and expansiveness, then you're going to shut down that heart space, right? The third line is all about pleasure, play. If you have a third line in your SQ, your heart, this is what's unlocking your heart for you. It's like the key to your unlocking. If life is too serious, if it gets serious really fast, if your parents are making you grow up really fast, if you're a parent and you're making your kid grow up really fast, they're not going to be able to experience that play. That pleasure, that play is what's going to open their heart for them. Keep it open. Their heart's already open when they're a kid. But if they're feeling like life is serious, life is scary, life is restrictive, they're going to guard their heart. They're going to learn how to numb it. They're going to learn how to close it, right? Because it's not safe. Because we're learning how to be in our bodies in the first 7 years of life. And so any of that resistance that we're facing or that trauma that we're facing within that first 7 years of life It is going to dictate whether our heart begins to close, whether we create those boundaries, those borders, those barriers within our heart, because we use it as a defense mechanism to protect ourselves, because we don't feel safe. Because in order to have intimacy with anyone on this physical plane, we have to feel safety, then we have to feel available to be vulnerable, and then we can have that intimacy. And as kids, we're not really understanding this world, right? And in particular, it's just really important for us to be that home and be that safe place for our kids, whether we receive that or not as kids, right? If you are a parent, it's important for us to be that home for our kids, because it's a big wide world out here, and we came here for relationships, right? We all came from source. We are of source. We are source. And then source is having a desire to experience itself. And we came here for love, for experiences, for relationships. And if we are here having these relationships and it gets tough and we don't feel safe, how can we have intimacy in these relationships if we are not feeling seen, heard, safe as a child? If we're not feeling that, and if we're not feeling like we can play, if we're not feeling like we can be boundless and explore, right? If we're not feeling like we have love, belonging, if we feel like we don't belong to the family, if we don't have role models, if we don't have that feeling of unity, oneness, nurturing, if we don't have that, we begin to create barriers and walls, right? And so I wanted to come on and talk about, obviously, parenting, home in yourself. And I wanted to read something to you. I wrote this about a month or two ago, and I didn't share it yet because it didn't feel time. And I just pulled it through my heart. I woke up at 3 a.m, go figure, and this just poured out of me. Because what happened before is me and my husband were having a conversation at the dinner table, and he believes that we need to prepare them for the real world. So we need to give them tough love. We need to help them grow up. We need to do this and that. And I understand his point of view, and he is the man, the male figure in their life. But as a mom and as someone who has carried the children within me, I was their home. I am their home. I'm going to hug them. I'm going to love them. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to help them find that home in themselves. So this is what I had written out, and my husband has read this. I haven't shared it with the public yet, though. So here's something that I wanted to share with you guys. Creating a home and a safe haven for our children. There is enough adversity, pain, and suffering in the world. We do not need to generate more of it in the home to prepare our kids for the outside world. Instead, we are here to be the change and the role models for our kids. We are here to be the love they come home to. We are here to remind them of this love so that they can be it for others in times of stress and upheaval of emotions. We are here to show them they don't need to callous or close their hearts when met with the real world. We model how we choose to operate differently from the norm. Being the change and being the love takes courage. We rise above the aggression, emotional projection, competition, comparison, judgment, and expectations of the world by not adding more to it. We teach compassion, forgiveness, emotional intelligence, how to win with peace and diplomacy, how to love yourself so deeply that other people's opinions and judgments of you don't matter. We offer tenderness, respect, equality to our kids, not adversity. It's easier to mirror the collective paradigm than to be the exalted expression. Yes, but to be the change you wish to see in the world teaches children how to respond to life through being love instead of reacting to pain with pain, to remain in integrity with their love center, to be the love, to be the change, to be the force for good. So this is something that I feel is like my mission statement, my vision statement as a parent. And I want to type this out and I want to keep this for myself because it's important for us to be the change. It's so easy for us to project our emotions and to be like that to our kids, but it affects them. Last night, my son Luke, me and my husband had gotten into a little argument, and he kind of projected onto Luke and was saying, no, you can't have a drink of water, and just sent him up to his room. And every night before bed, we say the prayer, and then we give hugs and stuff, and I make sure that I go to each kid and I ask them how they're feeling. Are they happy? And Luke in particular, he will tell me if he's not happy. And he said, I'm a little bit happy and a little bit not. And I'm like, well, why are you a little bit not? And he started to cry, and he's like, because Daddy wouldn't let me have water. And if I would have if I wouldn't have asked him that, he would have internalized that. And he would have felt like it's not safe for me to ask for the things I need. It's not safe for me to ask for the things I want. It's not safe because Daddy's going to yell at me, because he's very, very sensitive. His SQ is 13.3, I think. So it's literally feeling other people's, feeling other people, that empathy, right? And he has he has an open emotional center. So he's picking up on anger, and he thinks like, oh, it's my fault. I don't want to cause that for my dad, so it's my fault that he's angry. And I've done that. I mean, my husband's not the only one that does that. I do that too. Like I project too. I'm not perfect, but I am mindful about how I am emotionally projecting it onto my kids, because it's so easy as a parent to get frustrated and to push things on the kids. So for my son, I made sure that I was talking to him. We talked it out. I got him some water. I made him feel safe and asked him again, how are you feeling? I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling good. Well, good. That's how you should be going to sleep. And so my point of talking about this is that right now, all of us are on a journey of discovering who we are and discovering that home within ourselves. Now, in order for us to find that home for ourselves, a few things have to happen. And it's kind of modeled in the Golden Path. And this is just a way. It's not the way. You don't have to take Gene Keys, Human Design, any of this stuff. If it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. But if you're watching this, it probably resonates with you. So the first thing that we have to do is to find our core stability. And core stability comes through the strengthening of the spine. And the strengthening of the spine, and we're talking physicality and energetically, it comes when you're able to go through your activation sequence, right? We overcome our pathway of challenge, which is our life's work, and our evolution. That's the pathway of challenge. When we overcome what is challenging us in the mind, we break through into our radiance sphere. Radiance is all about our light, our radiance, right? And so when you're able to break through that challenge, you unlock and unleash more light through that junk DNA. That junk DNA has a purpose, by the way. Scientists labeled it junk DNA. But when you achieve that pathway of breakthrough, there's light that is then unleashed, that was obscured. But because you got through the conflict of your mind, you got to unleash this new light into your being. And this new light just comes out, right? And it's like, whoa, it comes through breakthrough, epiphany. But what happens is you have to ground that light into your physical body, into this reality. And you do that through the pathway of core stability, your radiance and your purpose sphere. And that's why we go through this whole activation sequence, because we're constantly being met with challenges, triggers, stuff like that in our life. When we can overcome those, we unleash more light into our being, then we ground that light into ourselves, and it's almost like it pushes more roots into the ground. And we're able to ground more into this sense of who I am and who I'm not, and letting go the things that I'm not and grounding into things that I am. And in coming through this Venus sequence, right? Because we go through the activation sequence, we ground into who we are, and we know through our gifts, through our genius, through those 4 spheres in the activation sequence, those make up 70% of our personality. When we can come into that gift frequency, that acidic frequency of these, we get to ground that into our reality, and we do not falter when a storm comes. We get to just stay grounded and stable within that. And then we move up into our Venus sequence. And the second part of being able to open your heart and feel that home feeling within yourself, you have to go headfirst into the realm of relationships, into the Venus stream. And oftentimes we will clench our belly. Like if you've ever almost, like, say you've gone into a bike accident, you've almost hit something, you ran it, like you knew that you were going to bump into something, and so you kind of like, you just clenched and tightened and braced for impact. Well, a lot of us within our body, within our energetics, we are bracing for impact, and so our belly is not soft, our belly is tense. And so we're talking about the flow of energy here. If your belly is tense, you can't flow any, you can't get that circulation of energy going, right? You can't get that torus field going. It meets this resistance, it meets the blocks. When you have a strong back, when you have a strong spine, when you're anchored into yourself, you then start to realize, oh, I can soften my belly because I have a strong back. Because I'm ready for anything. I'm completely open. I know that I'm grounded. I know that I'm anchored. There's nothing outside of me I need to hold on to or cling to make me feel safe and secure. I can feel safe and secure in who I am. And when you do that, you soften your belly. So going through the Venus sequence allows you to meet your challenges and not feel like you have to defend. Like that IQ and EQ is your defense mechanism. So you have your emotional defense and your intellectual defense. When you can understand how to dismantle those defenses, you get to, because it's not about survival, right? If we stay in survival mode, of course, we're going to feel like we need to have our sword and our shield. So it's important for us to start to dismantle these defense mechanisms and start to live life open and with an open heart. So once your belly is soft, the energy starts flowing up to your heart. Is your heart open? Is your heart closed? Guess where we are talking about opening our heart? That SQ. If you're line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6, that's your key to helping your heart feel safe to open. Because if we don't feel secure, we're not going to be vulnerable. We're not going to have intimacy in our relationships. Intimacy with ourselves, intimacy with the world. And so in opening this up, so first liners, obviously you guys need to feel secure, safe. You need to transmute, release those fears. So giving yourself that certainty and giving yourself that devotion and commitment. Certainty is also about, are you always going to be there for yourself? Or are you going to abandon yourself? Abandon your values, like by letting these people in that keep abusing you, that keep using you, right? Or are you going to be devoted to yourself? And in that devotion, you can feel that security, like I'm never going to leave myself. I am always there for myself. I can depend on myself. I am that security for myself, right? But not in a way that you're shutting out the rest of the world, because you can repress and hide and shield. Then we have the second lines. So your key is about feeling that freedom. How can you generate the feeling of freedom within your life without looking at the things that are stopping you from feeling free? Like that lack mentality, like I can feel free when I have financial freedom. Well, if you don't have financial freedom right now, that's again giving your power to money. Giving your power outside of you. How can you feel free within yourself? How can you feel safe within yourself? How can you feel playful within yourself? Third lines, play and pleasure. How can you feel play and pleasure within yourself? Fourth lines, belonging. And this is not necessarily belonging outside of yourself, like to a family. A lot of people who end up, a lot of kids, a lot of people who end up going into gangs are because they don't belong to a family. Maybe they're foster children. Maybe they don't feel like they have like this core group, this hub. And so a lot of people seek and search for that belonging. A lot of fourth lines seek and search for that belonging. And when they don't find it, they feel like there's something wrong with me. Why am I rejected? Why can't I belong? But Brene Brown, she says that in order for you to belong anywhere, you have to first belong to yourself. What does that mean for you? How can you belong to yourself? And giving yourself love, because the fourth line is also about love. It is about community. So it is about who you hang out with. So get really centered in your heart and allow yourself to discern who's adding love to my life. Because it's going to be important for you to surround yourself with the right people, because they're going to impact your ability to open your heart too, right? But it's not just external. So don't feel like if it's not up to things outside of you to make you feel like you belong, to make you feel like you're accepted. A lot of us are seeking that acceptance, that validation, that love. And a lot of the things we're doing is because we didn't feel that love as a child. We didn't feel completely accepted. We didn't feel like we completely belonged. A lot of you manifestors, I'm sure, met a lot of resistance in childhood where you felt like, oh, I don't belong. I don't belong. A lot of you starseeds who feel like you identify with not being of this earth, right? I mean, we're all cosmic, guys. We are all from everywhere and in between. And I want you to know that, yes, you belong. You belong here. You belong in your body. You belong in this life. You belong in this world. You belong. And when you can realize that, nobody else can dictate whether you belong or not, whether you're accepted or not. You have to first choose to belong, choose to be here. You have to choose to be in this body. And at a soul level, it was a choice. You are here because you chose to be here. You're not being punished for being here. You're here for a reason. And so when you get to choose to be here, choose to be in your body, choose yourself, you can belong to yourself. And you can unlock your heart, because nobody else's acceptance of you dictates whether or not you're worthy or not. You're worthy to be here. You're worthy to breathe. You're worthy to take up space. You're worthy to ask for what you need. You are worthy. So, and that's the fourth line. The fifth line, you guys are very, as a kid, it's about having that role model to look up to. Who has impacted your life? Because you will then become that person that impacts other people's lives. So looking at the people around you, again, the fifth line has a projection field as well. So did anyone around you, who was saying it's okay to be you, and who was saying you got to be who I want you to be? That fifth line projection field is no joke, because you're going to have to take off all those layers of conditioning, all those layers of projection, all those layers of expectation, and choose to be you, whatever that means. Because it's you who's going to have an impact on other people, not all these masks and clothes and jackets and judgments and expectations that you've placed on yourself because somebody told you that this is who you need to be right in the world. And then we have the sixth line. And the sixth line is about patience. Now, I have sixth line in my SQ. So the fact of the matter is, all of us can open our heart. All of us can live with an open heart, right? We are grounding ourselves in our core stability. We are strengthening our spine, softening our belly, opening our heart. Then there's a step after that. But opening your heart is paramount. And there's things that we can do, first, second, third, fourth, fifth line, to allow our heart to feel safe enough to open. And then we get to the sixth line, where life kind of moves in phases. And you're going to feel the first line. You're going to feel the second line. You're going to resonate with probably all the lines and say, yeah, I want freedom. I want pleasure. I want play. I want safety. I want all that stuff. And even if you have these lines, you can identify with other ones too. We're not just single line beings. We are multidimensional, multifaceted, and you are not just one thing. This does not box you in, but it gives you a blueprint and a perspective to look at to help you peel back any of these layers. So as a 6th line, it is about patience. It's giving them time and space, especially as kids. It's about not forcing these kids to, you got to grow up. You got to figure this out. Things flower within them at their own natural timing. And it's a timing that's not the same as everybody else. And you got to give them time and space to be, to figure this out, to figure out their heart, to figure out what they love, to figure out all these things. Patience is paramount. So to give yourself patience is the best thing you can do for yourself. Because when you're trying to rush your heart to open, when you're trying to rush yourself, it's just going to create more resistance. Like, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. The pressure is not okay for the 6th line. They will flower and bloom at their own time. Yeah. And then after we begin to soften our belly, our heart begins to open, because this energy is moving. We have energy coming in, energy flowing through us. The energy is moving. And after the energy gets to our heart and we find home in ourselves, that home is our anchoring. That home is our safe place. That home is our peace center. And nothing outside of us could ever give us anything to make us feel more whole and complete. It just adds to the cup. Our cup is already overflowing. We are worthy, we are healed, we are whole, we are in unity with ourselves, and we meet God, we meet Source, we meet unity within that light in our heart. It is the light of God. You are God. You are Source, and you meet that Source in your Source. And once you meet that Source, that unity, that wholeness, you never feel separated again. You never feel rejected. You don't need to repress. You don't need to reject. You don't need to deny. And all these core woundings that are imprinted and taken on in utero, right? Because our core and our vocation sphere was imprinted, was created in utero. And when we're living with an open heart, we get to look at our wounding with an open heart. And we don't feel like we're in conflict. And things get to be simple. It gets to be very simple. And we get to transmute that, and we get to start to mature this vocation, this core that we have within us, because that core becomes our greatest gift to the world, right? It's our vocation. It's what we're meant to do, to be of service to the world. Because once you're living life with an open heart, you unlock altruism. And altruism is giving without the expectation of receiving. Because a lot of us are giving with the expectation of, I need this to feel whole. I need this to feel secure. I need this to feel complete. I need this to feel free. I need this to feel like I belong. I need this to feel like I'm making an impact. I need this and that. I need. Instead of like, I would like. Like, it's just going to flavor your life even more, receiving these things. You don't need it. You just want it. And it's okay to want it. Because we're here to have experiences. But when you need it, you come from a place of wounding. And that's why we need to find our home within ourselves. And that's why we need to be that home for our children. They started in our uterus. They're outside of our uterus. We meet them with a hug. We meet them with love. We meet them with acceptance. We show them what freedom is like. We show them what it's like to be a role model. We show them what it's like to be the change. We show them all the things. And they get to decide. We're not forcing them. We're not projecting on them. We're not creating expectations around them. We're just creating the environment for them to thrive in. We're holding space for them to mature into their own. And we're not trying to condition them or make them be who we want them to be or who we think they should be, to prepare them for the world or to prepare them for whatever. We just create the space for them to evolve on their own timing and in their own right. And as adults, we're here undoing any of the conditioning, undoing any of the stuff that happened as we were kids, so that we can come into our own, so that we can know that home inside of ourselves. And then we can offer that to other people. So after we go into that vocation, boom, what happens? We unlock our culture sphere. And that culture sphere is all about that light, that projection into the world that says, I'm here, I'm available, come find me. You are that lighthouse. And for so many other people, you can be that lighthouse for them. Because here's the thing, like, I'm going to shine my light. I'm going to be who I am, and it's going to pull in whoever needs to see this, whoever needs to hear this, and I'm going to be that light for you. Because some of you are lost. You're seeking for something. There's something that you're missing, right? And I want to be able to deliver that message to you so that something can click, and so that you can find that home in yourself. Because you guys are lighthouses too. I'm a lighthouse. You're a lighthouse. We're all here to shine our light. We're here to live life with an open heart and speak our truth into the world from that place of centering, grounded, core stability, soft belly, open heart, and this frequency coming through our voice that says, I know who I am, and I am anchored in this, and I'm here to share my truth with you. Now, my truth may not be your truth, but at least I can be authentically me, because that's all that we're asked of, is be authentic, be here, be yourself, find that peace in being, and be that light for other people. So what we are wanting all of you to do is to be that light for everybody else, but to be able to project that light and not have it be obscured, to be able to wipe that window so that that light can project out even farther. You're going to attract in all sorts of people that are lost at sea, right? The boats, the ships, trying to find their way home. You can be that home. And then you get to tell them home is in yourself, right? Because we need to be that light for everybody else. They find us, they meet us, then we redirect them back into their center, into their core, so they can find and feel their home. But we need to first be the home for them. Just like we need to be the home for our children. Our children are newly awakened beings, awakened to this world. And then there's people who are newly awakened beings, who are going through their awakening, who are scared, who are lost, who feel that they don't belong, who feel like nobody understands what they're going through. But you can be that light that leads them out of the darkness, out of the dark night of the soul, out of obscurity. And you get to show them their light. Because the only reason they're recognizing your light is because that light is within them. So I urge you to do the work, to find that core stability, to have the courage to go into your relationships, to put down the sword, to put down the shield, to be the change. The world needs that change. The world needs people living with an open heart, without feeling like they need to have conflict, confrontation, competition. We are here to change the world and have that impact. And some of us are here to have a bigger impact than other people, and some of us are meant to change our family, our core fractal. Don't underestimate the power of changing one life, right? It's not necessarily about the millions of people that you can touch. Like, there may be this one person that you touch that then creates a tidal wave of ripple throughout the world. Don't underestimate any interaction you have, okay? Because that one person can change the world. You could be that one person that changes the world. So be the light for everyone that you come in contact with. Be that light for yourself. Find that home in yourself. So anyways, I just wanted to come on to talk about this idea of home, and then to also invite you to our Culture Sphere play shop, work play shop. It's just going to be 2 days this month. It's on the 12th and it's on the 19th. And right now it's $55. And if you sign up before, what is today? You have 4 days to sign up. And you'll get the Attraction Sphere complimentary as well. So we'll give you the Attraction Sphere. You'll also get that live culture sphere play, because it's important for us to understand, what is our light? How is it shining? How bright is it shining? What message is it broadcasting to the world, right? Because your light says something about you. When people are seeing your light out of the darkness, like they're searching, they're in the water, and they're like, I don't have an oar to paddle with, I got nothing. I see this light over there. What is that light speaking to them? What is it whispering to their heart, right? And it can come at all different frequencies. If you're in wounding, your light is saying something different than if you're in the gift or the Siddhic frequency. Do you know what your light is saying to the world at an unconscious and conscious level? Do you know what it's saying? And that's what this work through all these pathways and sequences and spheres, that's what it's all about. It's just so that you can evolve past the system. This is just a system. This is just a way to create expansion and evolution within your being, and then you'll evolve past it. You're not going to need it for the rest of your life. It's a tool. It's not like a whole way of being lifestyle that you're going to be in forever. It's just allowing you to expand past this expansion and move into the next level of expansion. So don't feel like you have to follow this pathway. If something else resonates, something else resonates. But this is just a thing to help you find your own home. And I'm curious to see with you guys, what do you use? What other systems, what other tools, what has helped you find your center, find your core, find your home? Because that's the kind of stuff that people need to have access to. This is just one thing, right? What do you use? How do you feel wholeness, unity within yourself? How do you find that home? What has your journey been like? Never underestimate the power of a story as well. So I invite you to contemplate this idea of home and what it means for you, and where you are putting your focus on what home is. Is it outside of you, or is it inside of you? How can you find that sense of home in yourself, and how can you give that home to your kids? Okay, thank you so much for joining me live, and those of you who watched the replay, namaste. Have a great day.